guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be another cozy mystery roundup. These are some of the best cozy mysteries I have ever read, and I would highly recommend them. I think everything on this list I've read I've read at least a few from this series, or I'm ongoing in the series right now, and I just absolutely love these. I've done one video before on cozy mysteries for beginners, which featured 5 different cozy mystery series that are big favorites of mine that I think are a good way to get into the genre. I'll link that above. It features different mysteries than this one. So let's go ahead and just hop into our first one today. So our first one is the Breadshop Mystery Series by Winnie Archer. If you've been around my channel a bit, you know that I started reading this last December, and I love it. I recently got the next 2 books in the series during my birthday library book haul. It was a birthday treat to myself, and I'm currently reading the second one in the series, which is Trust No One, a Breadshop mystery. It's called, and the little tagline is Murders on a Roll. And then I also have the third one, which is The Walking Bread, A Deadly Rising. She's great at puns. It's incredible. The first one was called Needed to Death, and essentially the main character's name is Ivy, and she returned home after her mother's untimely death, and she's just really struggling to find herself and just kind of, resume life after that tragic passing. And she ends up going to this bread shop in town called Yeast of Eden. Told you she was good with puns. Very frequently to kind of soothe herself and just, who doesn't love bread, right? Love bread. This will make you hungry. These books will make you hungry. And so she's there, and she ends up taking a baking class to bake bread and just kind of throw herself into a project. She's also a freelance photographer, which I think is a nice angle because it gives her maybe some natural reasons to be around people and to be nosy and to be zooming in with her camera, that kind of thing. She also ends up meeting this lovely lady who I think is in her 80s, and she's on the same street Ivy's living in, and they kind of get into sleuthing mischief together. It's just a super delightful classic culinary cozy mystery. The dog, I know I've pointed this out before, and I think a few of you have in the comments too, but the dog is, look how cute the dog is. Look at that. It's so cute. So adorable. So this is one, if you have not read it and you enjoy them a little, the more cozy, a little more lighthearted, culinary themed cozy mysteries, you'll definitely enjoy these. And fair warning, have some good bread on hand when you're reading these because it's just inevitable. It's inevitable. But yeah, so I'm super excited. I'm working through the second book right now, and then I'll start the third book. But the first book was a knockout. I rarely give 5 stars to the very first book in a series because oftentimes it can be very overladen with tropes and just there's a lot of setup. I understand it. I understand why. So to have the first book be such a knockout was a great start to the series, so I definitely recommend it. As usual, everything will be linked down below in the description, so if you want to check that out, definitely do. I highly recommend the series. Moving on to the next one. Okay, so our next one is also one I started reading around December of last year, maybe November, somewhere around there. And I'm going to link the author's YouTube channel down below because she has an awesome YouTube channel. I really love it. She has such a bright personality. I started reading the books before I actually found her on YouTube, but then I started watching her videos too, and it was just perfect. But the mystery series is the Bakeshop Mysteries by Ellie Alexander. These are so good. This is book 5. I just finished it. It's called Fudge and Jury. It is a checkout for my library, which is why I have this little sticker over the name of the library, but the covers are super delightful. Look at this one. This is the next one in the series, A Crime of Passion Fruit, which very excited for. The first book in the series was a strong 4 stars for me, and every book since has been 5 stars. The main character's name is Jules, and she works at her family's bake shop with her mom. Her dad is no longer with them in Ashland, Oregon, and Ashland, Oregon in this world has this amazing focus on Shakespeare. So there's all these fun Shakespeare-themed shops and festivals and things that are often central parts of the plot. And Jules is a super delightful character. She's got a strong culinary background. Again, this will make you hungry. You can tell I like my food-themed cozy mysteries, but it's just amazing. I love Jules. I feel the family, the staff and her mother and the side characters are so well fleshed out. You just feel you really know them. Every time I open a book now from the Bakeshop Mysteries, I feel I'm returning to a familiar place. It's very setting driven. It's beautifully described. The mysteries are really good. I've never had one that was like extremely easy to guess. I was always very much, you know, flipping the pages. It was suspenseful enough for me, but the setting and characters are delightful. It's like the perfect combination of, you know, the lighthearted slice of life elements of a cozy, but then a really good mystery woven in there. So I highly recommend these. They're just fantastic. I recommend them. So moving on to the next one. So our next one is a historical fiction cozy. I think I mentioned this in my beginner's cozy mystery but didn't go in depth, and this is by Rhys Bowen. It's for, this particular book is For the Love of Mike. It's a Molly Murphy mystery series. This is like the third book in the series. I actually read them out of order, so I think I've read like 10 books from the series, but I read them out of order, so I was going back to one I hadn't read. And these are just very like, you will get sucked in and you're just like sitting there like page turning. It's so good. So it's basically centered around Molly Murphy, who is from Ireland, and she's an Irish American immigrant. The first book kind of goes through her going through Ellis Island and arriving in New York, and it's set in the like very early 1900s, I think like the 1910s, but very early 1900s, and it features a lot of historical topics and issues that are so well fleshed out. If you really enjoy history, especially like American history, this is really interesting. This particular one, For the Love of Mike, went into like different seamstress factories, like labor unions and like workers' conditions, and kind of had some references to the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory tragedy. So if you're, I don't know if you're familiar with that, a lot of women unfortunately lost their lives because they were working in unsafe environments and they were locked into these factories that they were like garment workers were locked in, and a fire, you know, started, and unfortunately a lot of women died because they couldn't get out. So this is super interesting. It goes over voting rights, it goes over different, you know, labor unions, different things like that. It's just really interesting, and Molly herself is a very spunky, feisty person. She's full of life. She's not afraid to tell people off. She, depending on which part of the series you're in, she has like her own detective agency, or she's working with a detective, or just different things. So she's this really delightful character, and it's a really interesting way to take a look at history while, you know, enjoying a mystery but still getting some real history thrown at you. So Rhys Bowen is just fantastic for this. I adore this series. If you enjoy a good historical fiction, I would recommend Rhys Bowen for some of her other writing as well. She has other writing that's really great, but this one is excellent. So definitely check out the Molly Murphy Sisters series. The 18th book, I think, is coming out this month. I want to say it's like the 18th book, so this definitely has a very like heavy backlog. If you are looking for a series to binge read, you'll have plenty of reading material. The next one is The Coloring Crook. This is the pen and ink mystery novel series by Krista Davis. Currently, I can't remember, there's 3 out and maybe a 4th one's coming out this year, so it's not a huge series yet. I've read the first 2 so far. My library had the first one. They refused my request to buy the second one, so I went and bought it, and then it ended up they don't have the third one either, so I need to get my hands on that because this was just incredible. So our main character's name is Flory Fox, and yes, the cover of this is actually a coloring page. I will not be messing up my cover accidentally by coloring it because that would make me nervous, but it's super cute if you do like coloring. But our main character is Flory Fox, and she works at a bookshop that also specializes in and sells like a bunch of coloring books as well. And she herself is an artist who's working on designing a coloring book, which I think is a very fun hobby like to throw in with the cozy mystery theme. I actually featured this in my unique career like cozy themes. I'll include that video link up here in the cards if you want to check it out. It talked about different cozy mysteries with different kind of unique careers and jobs because, you know, there's a lot of baking cozies out there. There's a lot of bookish ones, you know. It's nice to have a little variety, but I included this one here because it has a really interesting emphasis on coloring books specifically, which I had never read before, and I love this. The bookshop she works at, the characters there are really delightful. Flory herself is very lively, very realistic, well fleshed out character. The mysteries in this are surprisingly pretty complex, I would say, especially for cozy. They're a little like deeper than a lot of like cozy or like more humorous cozy ones I would say usually are, so I really enjoy them for that aspect. And I really don't have anything negative to say about this series. It's just a fantastic one. I'll put a picture on screen of the first book in the series. It was called Color Me Murder, and it was fantastic. And this again is the second one, The Coloring Crook. I just finished this like a month or 2 ago. Excellent book. highly recommend this series. I'm so excited to get my hands on the 3rd book eventually, and hopefully the 4th one as well this year. Okay, our next series is the Scottish Bookshop Mystery Series by Paige Shelton. I think I mentioned this in the Cozy Mystery Beginners but didn't really go in depth on it, so I wanted to give it its time in the spotlight because it is a very good book. And this is by Paige Shelton. She's one of my favorite cozy mysteries writers. She's rapidly becoming one, and this particular book is like number 6 or so in the series. I've read every book in the series except for the novella, and then there's a new one coming out in April, but I've read every like full-length book in the series, and it's delightful. The main character's name is Delaney. She is a redhead, and she is actually from America, somewhere in the Midwest. I want to say Kansas, but somewhere in the Midwest area, and she ends up actually moving to Scotland to kind of just give her life a reset, because she also gets this interesting job opportunity working at a bookstore, but the bookstore also kind of what's the word I'm looking for, resells and values like valuable items and like artifacts and like different historical books, and like does repairs and things like that, and she's really interested in like restoration. So she ends up getting this job from kind of a mysterious owner of the shop. His name is Edwin. He is a mysterious figure, a little ambiguous, which makes it fun. The other characters in the book, you have Hamlet, who's like a very young man, and he's, you know, a little awkward, kind of has a little bit of a dubious past, but he's a very like bright person, and she has a lot of fun with him. It's really like the atmosphere of this book is fantastic. But I really have to say Paige Shelton nails the mystery elements. Like, she has a very clear, well thought out plot that always is satisfying. I've never read one of her books and not been like really satisfied with the mystery, because some cozies you definitely read maybe a little bit more for the atmosphere or the setting, and the mystery part's really good too, of course, but maybe you're going back to it again and again because you love the characters. This one, it's like, I love the characters, I do, but the mysteries in this series, and just Paige Shelton in general, she does mysteries so well, so they're absolutely excellent. If you've been turned off before with like some cozy mysteries maybe not being as like well thought out or deep of a mystery, I would try this one. It's a really good series, and again, this is just such a beautiful cover. I absolutely love it. It has a very complex plot. The learning a little bit about Scotland as you go is super interesting to me, and the characters are just fabulous. I don't know what else to say. I love this. I will be rushing to get the next book when it comes out because I love this series, and it's amazing. Like, there's been different themes with these books with like car bombings, arson, stolen relics. Like, there's a lot of interesting mysteries that are very unique, and not always murder centric, which I like as well, because I don't know, some of these are just really interesting topics to me. So I really recommend this. It's a great series. We'll stop blabbering and move on to the last one. So the last one is called the St. Just Mystery Series. It's by G.M. Malliet, and I'm going to pop a picture on screen because I've checked mine out from the library and I have returned them, so I don't have a physical copy to show you. But the first one is The Death of a Cozy Writer, and the next one I just finished is called Death of a Lit Chick Writer. I have a hard time with the titles for some reason, but those are the two I've read so far, and I believe there are now 4 in this series. I want to say it's still going on, but there are 4 currently, and this is very much like a golden age Agatha Christie style book. It is set in contemporary times, but it does have that very like Agatha Christie or like Clue feeling, like the board game. A lot of them are kind of like closed mysteries, which I personally love, and every single one of them involves writers of different like niches. So the first one was the cozy writer, that was like the centered character. The second one was like chick lit and mystery writers, which I really liked, and the mysteries are so well done. It's very hard, I think, to predict these mysteries. They're definitely very well thought out, very like Agatha Christie style, where sometimes you don't feel like you have all the information, so it's a little less about, I mean, it's not that you can't solve the mystery, but it's a little more like when you're reading Agatha Christie or Sherlock Holmes, sometimes you feel like you maybe aren't getting all the information the main character is, and it's a little bit more, it's very difficult to put together all the pieces because maybe you need like outside information to like solve a clue or something. So it's less about, to me, about solving it like some of these other amateur sleuth ones. Like this book, I try to actively solve as I go, and I have a good chance to maybe solve it. but the St. Just Mystery Series, it's more about being along for the ride and really seeing the thought process of St. Just, who is a detective, and I believe he's like in Cornwall, England, and he just ends up having to solve these crimes and just being in these messes basically, and you can tell he's a little bit like, how did I get here again? But he's a fun character, I would say, very like logical, level-headed. I really enjoy the books. So if you like kind of an Agatha Christie, Sherlock Holmes, Golden Age mystery style book, but you're interested in one, you know, by a new author you haven't heard of, or that's more in the contemporary times, I would definitely recommend the St. Just ones. I'm really excited. I can't remember what the third book is called. I'll put it on screen, but I'm definitely excited to check that out and read that soon. So that is my Cozy Mystery Roundup. These are just 6 more Cozy Mystery series that I very strongly and highly recommend, that I personally love. Now that I've gone through my list, I would love it if you'd leave me a comment down below letting me know what your favorite Cozy Mysteries are. What are your must-read ones? I'm always getting great recommendations from you guys, and my TBR is it's like miles long. It's crazy. It's so long, but I will get to them, and I'm so excited to start reading more of the ones you've sent over. So let me know down below if you do have any requests for future videos, and if you have any Cozy Mystery series that you strongly recommend to myself and other people reading the comments. Thank you again for watching. My name is Amy Murray. I do post mystery book content every single week, as well as some other book content, but the majority of it is definitely mystery related. And I hope you'll hit subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!